Hello and welcome to the Free Cheese episode 581. I'm your Joe Dix, joined by Matt Sellner.
Hello.
The Free Cheese is a weekly video game podcast about video games, brought to you once a week by thefreecheese.com. Matt, our last game goes on the list. Kind of. Uninvited is being added to the list this week. Stay tuned for that, listeners. But first, Matt, I want to know, what is a game or experience where you genuinely felt terrified to your core? I don't mean, oh, I don't want to do this, this is scary, but something that just haunted you in the wake of being a part of it. I say game because we're games, but if there's like a movie or a situation, hit me.
I can't think of a movie that really did that to me.
Oh, I've got one for a movie.
I would say like anytime trying to boot PT by myself. Obviously, we're on the website. I played it with you all. People in the room is a little bit different. But yeah, genuinely like just trying to do it by myself. Just never could. I just get out to the hallway. Just like nope, I'm good.
Did you do it with headphones and lights off and like?
Fuck no! Are you fucking high? No. Had the lights on, broad daylight, 2 in the afternoon. I still couldn't walk through the hallway.
Yeah, it's something.
I've talked about. I know I've talked about it on air, but the experience I had with The Ring, where we were watching it. My dad was out of town, and I was home with my sister and my mom, and us three were watching the movie. And no fucking joke, after the video went off, at the same time as the movie, when the phone went off, our phone rang because my dad was calling to check in.
Oh my god, I love that. I don't remember that story, but that's so good.
Maybe not at the ring. It was like right, on the first ring or whatever. It was like, but like right in that time frame of the phone ringing. Terrifying. And then also that jump scare with the distorted face in the closet haunted me, beginning? And I was just on eggshells the rest of the night watching it. I don't think I'll watch The Ring since, not because I'm like terrified of the movie, but just. Yeah, that first experience is probably... I don't think I could top that.
Did you watch it the year it came out, too?
I have to assume... it was a rental from Blockbuster, I think, or it just come out, like...
I'm saying that because when I said at the beginning, oh, wait, I have a movie example. My example is The Ring. But this is where our age difference comes into play. You were young when that was out, because I was 13, and I remember seeing it in theaters. Like, it was a Friday night movie, like, where we all went to the movies. And I remember that theater was sold out to the point where there were, like, I had a girl sitting on my lap to watch the movie, and that was, like, kind of the way it was all throughout the row, because I guess it was sold out, and then also people were just sneaking in nonstop back in that day. I don't know. Movie theaters would kill for whatever that was back then. But even with... Because I feel like when you're in a situation like that where there's so many people, it can still be like not as scary because there's whatever. But I don't know. I guess maybe we were all more respectful and quiet. I doubt it as 13-year-olds. Either way, that movie haunted me. And that night, I remember coming home... we did the round of like some parent dropping 16 kids off on the way home. Get in, I'm lying in bed, lights are out, my TV's on, and I like roll over to go to sleep, and my closet is open, and it's dark enough, like my TV light wasn't facing it, and I'm just like, I don't know if it was like a guitar case or something in there, but like the shadows of something, I was like, that girl's in my closet, with the one with the distorted face. Like, I wasn't really worried about Samara getting me. It was the one with the twisted face. I was like, she's in that closet. I was like, I got to get up and close the closet. But, oh, wait, if I close it, I won't be able to see what's inside. I should just lay here in terror for the next 8 hours until whatever. Yeah, The Ring is definitely... I don't know why. I guess we were the right age, because I don't know if I saw that today, if it would hit me the same. But it still is scary to me today.
I haven't seen it since. I just remember that the main jump scare, that the closet blink, like that. I remember that distinctively, and I remember snippets of the video being weird. I've seen it since in various ways. But yeah, no, creepy. That was just a creepy experience. It wasn't. I don't think the movie was producing a lot of it. It was just like I was from the start there. I was just doomed.
The phone would have thrown me off very much, like that. Yeah. Man, I want to watch The Ring again. It's been, I don't know, a couple years. I did watch it recently enough. It's still good, man. Well, The Uninvited also set out to scare folks back in 1986. Uninvited, developed by ICOM Solutions. The version we're kind of targeting is published by Mindscape for the Macintosh. First released on Mac in June 1986, although it would later be ported to other home computers, the Nintendo Entertainment System. The back of the box reads, okay, we don't have to read the reviews. Well now, an uninvited guest. We don't get many visitors knocking at our door way out here. I'm very sorry to hear about your car. Everything is going to be all right now. Why don't you just come in and stay a while? What's that? You say you just want to use the phone, find your brother, and then leave? Well, if you can find a phone, you can certainly use it. And as to leaving, well, I suppose anything is possible. Enter the world of Uninvited, and you may never leave. Like Shadowgate and Deja Vu, this is a world where challenge and adventure await you around every corner. And it's easy to play. There's no guessing what the computer wants. You just explore the story that unfolds before you. All the critics agree. Uninvited is like no other interactive adventure you've ever experienced.
It's not hard at all. All you gotta do is just tell the computer what to do. Sure. That's one opinion.
And the story unfolds before you. I think it's fine if you're saving every 5 steps.
I was going to say, every click you're saving.
Yeah.
God forbid you hit operate on the wrong thing.
Uninvited. So what is Uninvited? We talked about it from the back of the box there, but it's an old school it's what they call part of the Mac Venture series. It's a point-and-click adventure game. But it's kind of before point-and-click adventure games were point-and-click adventure games. I don't think that term was really publicized, unless, did I just read it off the back of the box? I didn't, right? It's not like, it was not there. I mean, the reviews in the back of the box, which the reviewers would be the ones using the buzzwords, I mean, they're calling it a text adventure, interactive graphic adventure.
Yeah, they're using that. Point and click wasn't a thing.
Yeah, it wasn't the easy thing that we go to now. But it, as described in the back, you've got Deja Vu and Shadowgate before it. Have you played either of those?
No, this is probably the first Mac game I've legitimately played.
So I played Shadowgate, but I played it on NES, and this was again later ported to NES as well. And I also played Shadowgate, the remake that they did, that I think first hit mobile and probably PC, but it's now like, I think it's on Switch. I think you can get it kind of wherever. And interestingly enough, coincidentally enough, I should say, just last month. Now remember, listeners, around this time each year is when we're revealing what next year's games are going to be to one another. So we had this chosen a year ago, but we often find that synchronicity is a thing. Beyond Shadowgate just came out this year, in 2024, September to be specific, and it's kind of harkening back to the NES game. Like they're still kind of picking up where that left off. It's been getting a lot of buzz around people who like these types of games. If you like these types of games, I recommend you go check it out. If you want something like, new that is old, technically. Do you remember when you first heard of Uninvited?
No, I feel like I've seen screens for this game, or heard about it before this was put on the podcast. I've certainly never tried to play it, or seen much of it, but I have at least heard of it, I think, before going into this.
For me, it was the NES game. Just seeing the cover with the skeleton on it reaching out, and it was like, ironically, pretty inviting. And I really wanted to see what that was. So I've tried this on NES, but I never beat it until playing it here on Mac. I'm also a big fan. I think the box art for both the Mac version, but also the Famicom version of this are both just incredible. I don't know, something really cool about both of them. Again, inviting. It doesn't quite match the internal look, but the internal look, I think, is also pretty unique and cool. We'll jump into that more later, but first, why did we add it to the list? And so, I elected this game for the list this year. We don't have a ton. Let me stop, because every time, again, the synchronicities happen. I'm going to say we don't have a ton of adventure games on the list, but this year we've added quite a few between, I would consider Fear Effect one. We did...
Listener submission.
Yeah, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream. Do we have any others? I don't know about point and click necessarily, but...
Don't worry, more will get added probably. Just throwing ideas out there.
Oh boy. Civ 6 is no.
Well,
either way.
Yeah, Civ 6 could be.
Pointing and you're clicking. But I'd not played through Uninvited. My only exposure to it was the NES game. So what happened was, I remember last year, I started looking at NES box art and picking out a handful. I think I picked out I don't know. My list last year got up to 75 or 80. So I probably had 15 NES games, and Uninvited was one of them. And I started then looking through alternate box arts, and I started looking at gameplay of different ones and whittling it down. And I almost went with the NES version of Uninvited. But I was also maybe we should do Shadowgate, because I've loved Shadowgate. Shadowgate was a lot of fun. And then I looked and saw there was a Mac version of this. I'm like, oh wait, right, yeah, this is a whole thing. I forgot about those all started there. And I was like, well, this is a perfect opportunity for us to get a Mac game on the list, because we have none of those yet. We have things that have been played on Mac, but never here is a game for Mac. And that was kind of the beginning and end. I really like that what we did get to see is the version we played is completely black and white on the old school Macintosh. It is as classic as you can get in terms of Mac gaming for the most part. That was kind of my impetus for it. And I feel knowing it after having playing it, I see now how important it is for Mac gaming, but also I think just these games in general, this trio, just setting forward or setting in motion the kind of adventure games, point and click genre to come, I think this one's really, really important in that. So we'll talk about it and we'll rank it and all of that fun stuff. Let's break down the main aspects of Uninvited. I think the core gameplay loop here is it's a point and click adventure. You have to manage your inventory and you have to solve puzzles. And a lot of that puzzle solving is trial and error. And whoops, I shouldn't have opened that door. Whoops, I shouldn't have clicked that book. all of that kind of stuff. But let's set the scenes. You start the game, you wake up, you're in a car, the windshield's busted, and you're told, you're just sort of like, is this when you come to, you're told to get out of the car? I forget now what it is. I remember like my instinct was to get out of the car, but
I think you're narrating that you're like your brother's missing.
Yeah,
I think that's the key thing in there. And then, yeah, the car's ablaze.
Yeah, and you get out of the car, you start to approach the mansion, the car blows up, and the first thing you read is, well, that'll save you the cost of a tow, which is exactly what I would think too, right? Right off the bat, kind of quickly, like you can interact with the mailbox and go through the mail, and inside of the envelope, there's an item you need, and like very quickly, very immediately, you're thrown right into, here's the systems at play. Click, read, interact, store, move, manage, all of that. And I really like the inventory in this game, that it's just a window that can be
this
sized
game
and
is
moved.
So wild.
Yeah, there's no boundaries. And like, you could just throw every single item on top of one another.
Dude, this game is so wild.
So what's you boot this up, you find out we're playing this. Walk me through your experience of starting Uninvited.
I die immediately to the flames of the car because I'm examining everything. So, yeah. Step 1. Step 2, I get out of the car, get into the mansion, and as I'm opening the doors of the mansion, my Mac System 7 emulation keeps crashing because of the sound. Man. So, I had... again, have I said this game is wild? I had just as much. I had a fun little. I didn't spend a lot of time with this. I probably played a good bit of this with a walkthrough, and just
yeah.
I briefly went through some rooms before I was just like, it's walkthrough time, but I had just as much fun playing this game as I did setting up my Mac emulation, because that was a wild experience trying to figure out how to get System 7 to work, and then that didn't work, so I went back to System 6, and all of a sudden it started working because I used a different emulator. Wild stuff. But yeah, just that little sidebar. I spent about an hour of my day, maybe hour and a half, getting emulation set up to make this work properly on a PC, which was fun.
No, these are fun. Like, that stuff, like, you take for granted how like easy console emulation is when you start emulating old PCs. I will say, if listeners are out there and you're curious, I think the easiest, most approachable thing is infinitemac.org. There's something similar for old Windows PCs where you can just straight up run like Windows Millennium in your browser. But that's Infinite Mac. You can just emulate any OS. I think up through. I don't want to misspeak. I think it might be up through like OS 9. No, it can't be. But you just boot it up right in the browser, and a lot of the systems that are preloaded already have games with them. No, okay, I wasn't wrong. Mac OS 9.2.2. But yeah, there's like, you'll see they've already like preloaded floppy disks and stuff that's available on like abandonware and things like that. But also if you have CD files or like ISOs or something that'll run, you can just import those. You can export things. I mean, you can technically use it as a little VM if you want to. You should like figure out how to back up stuff if you're going to use it or whatnot, but it works. They also have Next machines on there, which is wild. Like, if you want to see what John Carmack was using to make Quake. Yeah.
So after I finally solved my Mac emulation issues, you get into the mansion and you start clicking around, and just like, yeah, it's the way games probably had to be made back then. I granted, haven't played another Mac game from this time at this point, but like, it's just weird how like everything you're used to being in the same UI and clickable and it's all just like I don't want to say Windows because but like Windows and air quotes just stacked on one another.
Yeah.
And I love when you start opening drawers that is just, it's like, dude, it's almost primitive like PUBG inventory systems where you have like this inventory system and this inventory system. You have to drag and drop into this inventory system. Like shades of that were coming back from a game released. What was it? 86? You said like
86. Yeah.
It was a wild like just start to just seeing like just one just being back on not being back. Being on Mac OS 6, or, Mac System 6, and just seeing how this game has to run within a Mac with just all the different UI stipulations and whatnot. And not even stipulations, there's not a lot of restrictions, and I think that's the crazy part of this game. Like, it feels so ahead of its time while being so primitive at the same time.
Yeah, because it's just like, to Matt's point, like, if you've not seen the game, the general gameplay, like in the center of the screen there's an image of whatever room you're in, and then at the bottom you have like
it's like a text box.
Yeah, screen wide text box that's sort of just like narrating your every move you make. And then you've got a window for, at all times you have a window for exits in the room you're in, and you have a window for your inventory. But to Matt's point, if you open up a box or a drawer or a
box
cabinet,
of matches.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh my God. Yes. Then you have like another window to move stuff around. My favorite one was it was a desk. I forget in which room that had all the flashcards with like the chemistry flashcards.
Oh, I missed that.
I forget where that was now. I don't remember. But yeah, like, they were all stacked. There were like, it was like a deck of cards, like 50 of them, just like stacked. You had to like click on this like little teeny tiny sliver of an overlap. Like, it was, yeah.
That's awesome.
Insane.
No,
it was the pinnacle of that.
I guess I had, that sounds way worse than what I was about to bring up. But like the maze when you unleash the animals and the boxes. Because the cages are open now, so like there's open inventory, and they just boop 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 boop. The UI is interesting for sure.
And they solve that problem in different ways on other platforms. I don't know that it's always, I don't know. I got used to the NES style playing Shadowgate, but I don't know that I'd recommend it. I think I much like the point and click interface. For the most part. But yeah, so you kind of wander through the mansion. It is generally a bit weird, right? Like, depending on how you navigate, one of the first rooms you can end up in is, I think it's the entrance hall, which is just a big old pentagram carpet on the floor. I don't know if it's a carpet, but yeah, like right dead center in the room. I kind of quickly, I guess, I want to hear about your first death. I guess your first death was the car. So,
yeah. I was fighting some troubleshooting though, at times with the car, but yeah.
I made it in, and I guess upstairs, and I opened that door on the left, and the lady came out and was facing.
Yep, lady killed me a bunch because I didn't know what the hell.
No, not at all. I just kept for a while avoiding that door and trying other things and poking around. And yeah, to your point, like, that was my experience too. It was like, let me just wander and get lost and die a bunch. After my first death with her, I was like, all right, I need to be saving like every time I enter a new space. That was kind of for me, like, if I clicked around in a room and something happened, so be it, I'd restart the room. But I would typically just save, like, if I got to a hallway, save. Open a door, I'm in the room, okay, nothing got me, save. Okay, back in the hallway, save. Like, just little by little. I think that's the easiest, best way to do it, which I don't know the reality of that back in 86 either, because you've got 2 floppy trays, one of them has this in the disk, theoretically. You've got another, I guess you're saving to the hard drive. if it's available?
I was saving to the disk, I think. And then in the what would be, I guess, Finder, like I could see, like I would see all the different things for the Uninvited. And then there was like a folder for I think it was games, or it might have said saves, or in a different way that meant saves. But then I saw the 3 saves in there, and I could literally, without launching the game, just click on them, and it would bring the game up right to where I was. Yeah. That's cool. I don't know. I don't know if emulation was just being nice to me with some modern conveniences, or that's how it was. But yeah, that's how I was finding my save games between play sessions.
How did dying impact your approach to playing?
Don't go in that room, or don't do that.
Yeah.
Or how?
Why? Yeah, that's fair. I found myself a lot with this one feelings I felt in Fear Effect of like, whoops, I guess I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Thankfully in this one, you had the luxury of saving more frequently. So if something happened, you weren't reset too far, but it was, very much reinforced our idea of Fear Effect a few weeks ago of it being like one of these, an adventure game. But yeah, overall, the game is like a little more than 10 rooms plus like a backyard, the chapel in the backyard, the greenhouse, etc. It's not long. I think like if you know what you're doing, you can probably get through this in like 15 minutes, 20 minutes maybe.
Oh,
I'm thinking if you really know and you don't need to stop and read, like if you've got it committed to memory.
Yeah, I'm just saying there's quite a few items that you do in a certain order. Like you need the spider to go into the room to get the one thing. I can't remember was it the skeleton key in that room when you scared away the zombie?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think that's right.
But there's specific things you have to do a little bit of backtrack. Not that backtracking's hard, especially. I did really like the nifty exit window or exits where you can click on the squares or easily identify areas you can go.
Yes.
Much like hitting select in Final Fantasy VII with those pre-rendered backgrounds when you maybe don't know where to go and you get the little red triangles. Yes, that was very helpful in some rooms. So yeah, I mean, yeah, if you're navigating through those and you know where to click there, I guess. But yeah, I guess you can get through quite quickly then, I guess, if you're not. The other thing, though, is you have to wait for those sound files. That would be your biggest speed run.
Do you want to pivot and talk about sound now? Because sound's important, although intermittent, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, for, again, obvious reasons.
Yes.
But I liked it. It kind of produced jump scares just because you're traveling around, and then the thunder would crash. You also got like the skull that will pop up and like laugh when and your character will narrate like, oh, they're starting to feel like lost and you're starting to feel like they're losing themselves in this house, kind of sort of thing. Not that I think if you stay in the house for too long, there's a game over state, but
I never hit one, but maybe there is. I don't know. I never died in the car, right? So like, I didn't know that could happen either.
Yeah, but you're also just like, that's like 4 clicks away if you don't open the door and get out.
I just wonder if you like completely stood still in the house if something would happen.
Well, you have to wait for oranges for long enough, so I don't know.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. Yeah, and I think that's the nice thing about this game, though, is like, because of its setting and because of how weird it is, like, you kind of just don't really know what's around. It is eerie, I'll say. Like, I think it does evoke that sort of sense. Plus the noises, to your point, like the jump scare, like, this does craft a very good horror experience, I think.
Yeah.
Especially if you let yourself slip into it, like, it can really draw you in, I think. This one is, as we mentioned, it's in a haunted house, but, well, not haunted house. It's in a mansion, but we find some stuff in this mansion. There's a lot more like weird occult stuff and a sorcerer. It goes in some different directions, but I know neither of us have really played through Deja Vu, and then there's Shadowgate, but both of those are two different scenarios entirely. Like Deja Vu, I think, is like what do they call it? A gumshoe detective, like a 20s, 30s detective story, where Shadowgate is like you walk into a castle, dragons and demons and whatever kind of thing. What do you think makes this setting more effective than the others?
I think even in its, I mean, we just talked about this last week with like when I mentioned like haunted, or not haunted house. I just did the same thing you did. Where like haunted mansions or mansions make a good aesthetic for like a horror game. I think it's that. I think it's just like uncovering a mystery of what's in this room. And I think another good example of this is a game I can't remember the name of. Of course, it's a walking simulator where you're the girl. You come home from college or for something. Gone home. Despite that game never really being scary, it's eerie because you're uncovering a mystery in a house you're not familiar in. And there's just a little bit of like, oh, that seems weird. There is one cheap jump scare in that game, but like, again, for it not, it's just eerie, and I think just this type of like just exploring a mansion that has things obvious that make it creepy and just being on edge the entire time. Because again, like you said, you go into the front room, you can't avoid not seeing the pentagram. Like, you gotta know immediately, like, okay, that's quite the decoration you walk into.
Yeah, because like you've driven to places before, right? Like you've made a wrong turn, you've pulled into some area, or you've pulled off somewhere, and like even like within our own neighborhoods, sometimes you just end up in a spot and you're like, I shouldn't be here. This is, imagine if like it's the next level of that where you can't just turn around and leave. Right. And the only thing to do is wander in. Like, it's a creepy setting. And then of course, once you're in and you've got ghosts appearing and demons in the basement, monsters about.
What was it that kept running by? Was it a rat? A mouse? What the fuck had the key that you ended up, I think it was like a candy bar.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like this. Again, I really liked Shadowgate, but I think I like this one better because of the setting. They don't do too many things like too terribly different, but the setting I think works for me better in terms of horror, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Plot wise, how would you describe this game? You crash the car. Your brother's missing. You go to find him. Find out that a evil sorcerer.
Yeah, yeah. You find some scrolls somehow, some way, and read those. Yeah, like I remember the names at the end of the day here. I just remember like the basis just being find brother, and you're just kind of unraveling like some of the layers of the house.
Yeah.
And just so happens you stumble upon that resolution before finding your brother, which has I guess a part in it in finding your brother.
Yeah, in the very end. I guess depending on the ending. I guess I got a good ending. Did you all?
I would hope I got a good ending using a walkthrough.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I also stumbled across many bad endings.
Yeah, there's that too. I think there's meant to be 3 canonical endings. And then, of course, there's all the different ways you can die within the game.
So it's near. It's A, B, C, D, E, and then all the other fun ways you can die.
It's exactly that. What do you think of the visual design of the game?
I think it's great knowing what limitations it had.
Yeah.
I think weird enemies at times. The giant like tomato thing.
Yeah, that was
again. I'm gonna keep using that word. Wild.
Yeah.
However, if you take a wrong turn in the cave, and find that hideous looking spider. Like, okay, that fits. Turn around.
Yeah, the spider, yes. The tomato, not so much. Even some of the demons felt a little out of place to me. Like, I know.
Yeah.
Like, I also feel like maybe the sorcery generally was a little bit weird here. Like, I don't know. And that was probably my own expectations of it, like, going down one horror genre, and it kind of went down a more fantasy horror genre, pulling that stuff in. But
I just think it's some of the details, some of the characters are so good, and then the other ones that don't stand out are like the more mild versions of like ghouls and things like that. Not that they don't look good, it's just like you see the woman and you're probably have died to the woman at least 5 times before you realize, just go upstairs and ignore that hallway. And like you see the face and everything like that, and you're sure you died another 1,000 times before you got here if you're not using a walkthrough. And like that skull, still very detailed in the way it's drawn on the screen. But then, yeah, like you get to tomato, and like it's just like all one shade of like the gray, and it's like kind of all colored in with some eyes. And it's not that it looks bad; it just it stands out to what like the rest of the design of the game is. And like you said, you get that with some of the other ghouls too. But like the zombie though that you use the spider one, like I think that zombie is drawn really well and like feels like it fits in the environment. So like not everything, it's just
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I love, it's like, I don't know, all that black, that's like a lost art. Literally, like this look and feel of games like this. There's definitely indie games out there that are doing stuff like this. And I think, honestly, stuff on Playdate taps into some of this in its own way. You just don't have the screen real estate necessarily, but yeah. What do you wish to say to the dog?
I forget the exact thing.
Something
Abraxas though.
Hey, there you go.
It's because everything ended with Abraxas. Illuminate. It was something to illuminate, and then I don't remember the first part, but I remember the illuminate for the lightning strike and Abraxas to speak it out to someone. Don't remember the first part though.
Instantum.
Yeah.
Illuminaris.
Okay. I was close. That was right track.
No, you had, yeah. I threw you a curveball there. For 1986, how does this game hold up?
I think it's wild. I'm like seriously impressed. I don't score it higher just because like there are things on this list that are just better, and it's sad. It's just technology. Yeah. Like we're playing stuff 40 years after the fact of this.
Yeah,
but like,
yeah, it's tough.
Like there are things I feel like I've played in the last 10 years that this game is better than though, which is nuts. It's wild.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like this could be a very frustrating experience. Like you can easily get lost and play this game for 30 to 50 hours before you find an ending. But like, you know, if using what you said, if you want to be dumb and launch a VM on your PC, like go for it. I had fun doing it. You had to download a bunch of mini software and stuff. None of it gave my PC a virus, so I think we're good. But go nuts doing that if you wanted to do it. But just playing this with a walkthrough, I had a lot of fun. Like I was just impressed with how this game played, knowing when it came out. Like, It's wild to think like something like this is a year after Mario.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's the same year as Metroid. It's the same year as Castlevania. I
mean, obviously those games play differently. They're side scrollers and action games, but like it's just the level of detail and what you can do. Like half the shit you find you can drag into your 80% of what you find that you can drag into your inventory is junk and you don't need it. But like there is so much around the room you can click on and hit examine, and there's a different like line that's written for
they
that
made sure to like program for every single thing you can if you can touch it, you can read about it, I guess. It's like
and like even when you hit it, like different things make different noises. Did it need to do that? It could have just used the same generic thud and just be like, oh, it did nothing. But like most things had some kind of different version of it did nothing. I enjoyed the fact that when you operated like fire or went to play with fire in the fire pit, you burned to death and you died. I operated the knife onto myself and I died. Like, you can do all this crazy stuff, and I know I'd even scratch the surface of this game in terms of its interactivity.
No, not at all.
Which is, I think, cool.
I bet there's probably an entire like fan wiki that's just all of the ways you can die, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's a lot of cool systems. It's one of those things that I wonder how much, like, I think people look back to the old, what were they? What's the big, the point and click stuff? All those old adventure games, like, what am I thinking of? Like Maniac Mansion and...
Oh, okay. I thought you were trying to get a Freddy Fish out of me.
No. Oh, LucasArts. That's what I'm thinking of.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay.
I feel like, I don't know, like how much were those dudes looking at games like this, or how many people who love those LucasArts games, like, have they gone back to these and seen like where it started? I think if you haven't, you're a fan of that stuff. Like, to Matt's point, like, it's a 1986 game, and it's very early, before the genre was even defined, but it helps to define it. It's going to be rough around the edges. Play with a guide, play with patience, and I think you can have a lot of fun. This is one of those things where, like, if I had a Mac as a kid and this was on it and I played it, like, I would have just sat down and played this every day for years just to see what else I could find.
I also think with like the playing with the walkthrough, like, I encourage you, maybe figure out how to get rid of the lady in the hallway or learn to avoid it. Like, maybe just get past that and get upstairs. But like, once you get past that, the mansion opens up. Like, there are ways you will die, but like most of the mansion opens up after that. And I would encourage you, maybe that is what I did, and I really had a good time in this game. I would encourage to poke around and examine the house. And like, if you want to try and figure it out, like, go for it. But like, make a save before you start doing it and just go nuts. Yeah. And then when you get tired of like being stuck or whatever, that's when I would pull out the walkthrough and just go the walkthrough the rest of the way. Because if you got stuck on one step, trust me, the game's not getting any easier. When you have to, I'll give you the answer to one puzzle, and I'll give you the full answer. But you'll have to light a fireplace. You will have to find a box of matches. You will then have to open the box of matches. You will then have to, you would think, oh, operate the match on the wood. No, it doesn't work. And you're going to be like, well, what? I don't know. I don't see any other fire starters. I've explored the house 5 different times. No, you have to operate the match on the box, which is also in the separate window of your inventory, and then quickly, with the lit match, put it onto the fire. Like, within like 3 clicks. There you go. There's your solution to one of many obscure puzzles in this game.
But I think it's that. It's like, it marries that bit of like reality to like what you're physically doing as the player in the game. I loved that throughout this. I also really liked the dungeon crawling, like that maze specifically. I don't know why I love first-person dungeon crawling, just generally speaking, but something about it just, I don't know, man. I really, like, I will always wander through one of those. Like, I have so many unfinished dungeon crawl games out, like, in various platforms, and they just remade Wizardry this year, and I've been, like, eyeing that one up to pick it up. Like, I love it. I'm a sucker for all that. But yeah, to your point, like, I thought the inventory system feels better than contemporary games. Like,
the only thing that's hard is that you don't know where your max is, because they definitely wait different things differently. So, like, of course, you're not going to have that kind of system. But here's the cool thing. You just kind of drop whatever you need in the hallway. And the hallway after the initial ghost is kind of safe. So, like, that's kind of like your Resident Evil box. That hallway.
Just dump. But yeah, I really, really liked that. You didn't need to like order. It didn't auto sort. I don't know. It was
stack cool. Everything. Spot the window.
One question I had while playing: are you allowed to make an adventure game without making a room that fills up with water?
Oh, I don't know. There's quite a bit of them, aren't there?
Yeah, every single to go up. There's that. I gotta.
Yeah, 666 had one early. Did I Have No Mouth have one?
I don't think so, actually. It might have. I don't know.
One of the stories had to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even that was fun because you had to wait like halfway before you could open up that thing. So like there was some panic of like, where do I go? Like the game induced it.
Yeah. What's the weakest part of this game?
I just think it's age, and I think part of it is just like approachability nowadays, and just how obtuse the systems are. But again, like 40 years, and we know all the nice quality of life touches these games have. You didn't know that back then, and I'm not saying it makes it better or anything like that. It's just like there's no expectation for it to do something. And you know, it's just I scored this higher, but I scored this like a good score. It's just live at some point. A 40-year-old game has limitations, and that's kind of compared to some of the stuff. That's just I think is the biggest downfall is age and the system it was on.
Yeah, I think that's fair. You can pick this up. It's on Steam.
Yeah, it's like a Mac Venture series.
Yeah.
I do encourage you to look into do the Mac emulation. It makes it feel earned.
I agree because you're like actually like on the thing. I will say though, I see here there's screenshots where you can choose between different versions. So
I think both color and black white are on that version because I almost bought it before I went down a rabbit hole. Yeah.
So that's out there. It's not supported on like Mac OS 10.15 or later. You're doing that whole thing, but check it out there. I also think the NES version's probably good, but I don't know. I'm a sucker for the way this one looks. I really like this one a lot. Would you recommend this to, or who would you recommend this to?
I think people that really like point and click adventure games, that's their jam. They like the kind of frustrations they bring. I also like encourage this much like I would Rogue, where it's like go see the origin of the genre, because like I don't like there's an appreciation built to the systems and inspirations from this game going forward. However, I too kind of mentioned Rogue directly in my review. Like this game is better than just a history lesson, though. Like there's a good experience here. Like Rogue is a very frustrating, primitive game. This has some of that, but it's just obtuse more than like it feels primitive and frustrating.
I think that's really that's fair. Final thoughts before I think that was your final thoughts, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Anything else? Yeah. I think we get ready to rank this. What do you say?
Yeah, let's do it.
Listeners, you can head over to thefreecheese.com/thelist to see everything else we've ranked so far. Oh, this sucks. Don't you hate it when your your eyes go right to something and you can't get out of it.
Where'd you go?
I'm in like the nightmare range.
Yeah, I went there because I was looking directly for Rogue, and I just needed to make sure this was above it.
Yeah. And this is tight, honestly, because like
you can't go much higher.
You really can't.
I mean, I like it better than Nightmare. I think the train may stop the Fear Effect.
I think I agree. I'm looking and I'm like, because I'm looking and I'm like, well, it's definitely not better than Devil's Crush. And I'm like, well, it's definitely not better than Disaster Report 4. Yeah. Nope. It's the new, what would this be, 90?
90, yeah.
Yeah. Done.
Which sounds bad, but really the drop-off in scores really happens in the mid-90s, not in...
I mean, yeah, but the unfortunate thing, too, I think we've just been picking better games these last few seasons because we don't have a ton that are circling the drain here. Like, a lot of these games at the bottom of the list are things from our old review cycle, too.
Yeah, I think a lot of what's at the bottom is stuff that, like, we didn't think they were going to get, the 5-star approval, but they were maybe misremembered more than anything. Yeah. None of those games towards the bottom. Just because it's 90 out of 111 at the moment doesn't mean not playable.
No, we got a whole season's worth of content to fill up the bottom of that list with. Don't you worry.
Not playable starts at 111 on this list.
Look at that. All right.
Oh, Paperboy 2 is good for a laugh. Even if it's
no,
for 15 minutes.
I was looking more at Halloween.
Oh.
Halloween's pretty rough.
Oh, it's playable, though.
Fair enough.
Look, it's an Atari game. What do you expect? Another game, limited by age.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Hey, look, to date, that's the only Michael Myers game designed around Michael Myers so far. Dead by Daylight does not count. He was DLC.
What's that one that just came out?
Did it come out yet? I was looking for a release date for this the other day. I didn't think it released yet.
Yeah,
it's coming.
Came out. I don't need to know what day Halloween is. Thank you very much.
I'm looking to pick that up. Or am I breaking kayfabe here?
Yes, but
damn.
Hold on, I need to tell this that I don't want to submit my to the 824 partners. This sucks. I don't know. Yeah, it came out somewhere. It was like in the last 2 weeks or so.
Okay, well, is that the first time you broke kayfabe all year?
No, because you've intentionally said I'm going to break kayfabe right now.
Okay, this shows you.
Then, yeah,
shows you how much everything's a blur. This whole it
doesn't. Yeah,
this whole year's been a blur.
I mean, Matt, we did it.
We're like in November.
Yeah, like it's November, just about. If you're listening to this the day it went up, it's October 28th. We're there. The year's gone. This marks the end of. Kind of. We still have more podcasts. We've
Everything's been played. The end of
everything.
End of new games. In some sense.
Yes. So next week we'll be back to rank our 2 Sega Genesis and 2 Super Nintendo games that we played on stream. If you missed those streams, they were a lot of fun. You can go watch those and get caught up and then come back and listen to the episode next week to hear where we rank
And don't be intimidated by like a 4-hour stream. They're each like about hour, maybe hour and a half.
Yeah, we tried to keep them pretty tight. You can hang out and watch them on your lunch, probably. We did Super Strike Eagle. We did Scooby-Doo.
I think it's Scooby-Doo Mystery. The one on the SNES.
Yes. We did Krusty's Super Funhouse, and we did Sonic the Hedgehog Spinball. I just call it Sonic Spinball. Most people call it Sonic Spinball.
I was going to say, I thought that was the name of it, to be honest with
you. They slip a little hedgehog in the, yeah, they try. And then after that, we've got our big 3-parter extravaganza, where we're going to break down Tetris Effect, Super Mario Galaxy 2, Halo Combat Evolved, Pokemon Gold, and Pokemon Silver. Talk about those games at length a bit more, where we stand on them now in the wake of playing them and everything else on the list, and how they compare to Wii Sports. We should probably play some Wii Sports in the lead up to that, huh?
You could. That would make sense.
See how that feels. And then we rank all those. But you know the one episode, I'm going to tease this now, because if you're listening, you're part of this, and you want to hear this as much as we want to say it. You know what I'm really excited to do? It's going to be episode 588 for the listeners out there. It's when we're going to check back in with the consoles that we bought this year. I'm very, very excited for that one. I've got 2 bins filled with Xbox games now after my year. So I'm excited to talk about that and time spent with that and all that fun stuff. Anyway, happy Halloween.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Happy Halloween.
Come back next week. Hang out with us. Come back every week. Tell a friend. At this point, if you've got a friend that likes video games, there's an episode we've talked about a game they like or hate. So go check that out and tell a friend to find something they love or hate. Until then, until next week, thank you, Matt. Thank you, listener, for listening. Bye.